box.
Hello and welcome to Con Air, the podcast. I am Jake Lewis, and on this show, myself and my co-host Mark Hoffmeyer normally talk about the film Con Air, scene by scene, chapter by chapter, with some wonderful guests. But this is a special semi-hiatus episode where we're looking at some Con Air adjacent films on shows we've recorded in the past. And I am not on this episode. No, it sounds like I currently am, but technically I'm not on this episode. This is an episode from Movies, Films, and Flicks, Mark's podcast that he recorded in 2020, I think, with a different person. Can you believe it? The nerve of the guy. So this is an episode on Face Off, the Nick Cage film. The face, it comes off, the face off. So Mark's guest on this episode is Matteo. I listened to the show today. They have a wonderful talk about Face Off, a bunch of other things from like when they met in the past, and it's a great show. I hope you enjoy listening to them talk about Face Off.
Welcome to Movies, Films, and Flicks. I am Mark Hoffmeyer, and joining me is a man that bought a bunch of doves and let them loose in his apartment for this episode. It's Matteo Cinani.
Welcome, welcome. Here we go. It's face-off time.
Oh, I love it.
International face-off.
I can't. So right now, Matteo's. Oh no, he took it off. Okay, good. He was wearing a mask there, and I was like, "What is happening?" It's pretty disconcerting. I'm looking at this thing. Jeez Louise.
It is scary. It is actually quite scary. This mask. I'll take it off now. I'll take my face off. You know what I mean? Here we go.
So right now he has this white mask that's a thing of nightmares from like The Strangers, and now he's taking it off. Well, dude, thank you for joining me, man, all the way from Korea.
Yeah, we've got ourselves 8. It's in the PM here and the AM down there.
So I've got Norbert Morvan joining he's been a regular. I have James Mula. He was on an episode. I got Niall Moore. He was on an episode. Now I have you on here. So I got a strong Korean contingent on this show going on. And
cute, nice.
One day for our Final Fight series, I was asking like, hey, what movie should we talk about? You brought up Face Off, and I'm like, let's just talk about the movie. So months later, you're on, and you and I are reuniting from our Cheongju soccer Tiger days. On the left flank,
right?
Left flank.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. So Matteo and I met him in Korea in 2008. He's one of the best drummers you'll ever meet, and he and I played soccer together. We traveled all over, man. You saw me get my finger kicked in.
Yeah.
And then
you're on the defense, yeah.
And no one wanted me on offense.
That's okay. The people we opposed, they never had a chance on that side, right? It was like power and speed.
We crushed them, man. I felt good on that side, and everyone hated me over there because, all right. So I know we're not talking about face off. We're talking about soccer, but we were facing off with other teams. But I wasn't that good, Matteo. But I had good cardio. And everyone else out there was coming off of like a 12-beer night on the opposing team.
Yeah, because we used to booze it up those games were always showing up like hungover on the bus to go to Seoul or other cities.
Exactly. And then I would be pretty light the night before. And so I knew that we needed a balance. So the people out there could probably, they outmatched me for the first 30 minutes, but then they got tired. So then remember the rest of the games, I was just running up and down the field. And they would get annoyed. Like I would kick the ball past them and run past them. Like I had no fancy dribbling skills.
Yeah, physical play and good cardio goes far in soccer too, right? However you want to call it, what country we're in, but yeah, because it's true that league had talent, but a lot of booze.
Yeah, and so
like
that's why,
a lot of
and you know how frustrating it is when you're really good at something, and then you get tired, and then someone that's not as good as you is just running around you.
Yeah, well, it's like they said that the kids got a will, no talent but will, but you had both. Don't think you just had like a cardio. You can still play. You were not on the field out of mercy or generosity.
Yeah.
You earned your spot though. It's not like we were like, oh,
Funny.
like Mark's got to play. Like we had those people before. I remember sometimes there were some people who showed up and it's like, goddamn, you should have told them the game was at the other field. Like some real losers, but. Were you there before we continue when we had that fight against the Persian Storm?
Oh yeah.
Were you still there when the guy called one of our players called the other guy Osama bin Laden?
Oh.
I think you might have been. That was like still your era. This big guy Tim on our team with a shaved head, a big Marine guy.
Yeah.
An idiot.
Yeah, an idiot. Real idiot.
And he called the other guy Osama bin Laden, and the fight broke. Like the whole game got canceled, and the whole team tried to attack him.
Well, fair enough.
Yeah, I know. And we have to stand up with this guy. He was an idiot. This guy. He always injuring his own players and just being a moron.
Yeah, I remember that guy. He was more of a maniac than I was, and I remember thinking that.
Yeah, he was being the Maniac. Speaking of that, that's my new band name. I have a new band now, the Maniac Kings.
Oh, I love that name.
Yeah. So we had a show. The last show I did since Corona got canceled, maybe like 3 weeks ago or a month. We played downtown, the downtown, in Cheongju.
Yeah, Cheongju.
It was an outdoor 9-band festival, and it was our time. It was like 9:40 p.m. Good time to go for it, like near the end of the festival. And then we start playing, and we're in the end of the set, and we start doing our cover of "Come Together" from the Beatles, heavy style. And who shows up? The cop, this random cop guy. But it made it better.
Nice.
It gave it like drama because he comes on stage and he cuts the guitar, just cuts the power.
Oh
Dirtbag move.
Yeah.
Then he comes to me and he tries to tell me to stop playing drums because you can't cut me off. I'm live. And obviously I ain't gonna be a chump, so I play louder and I like do a solo, like I just bash it in front of him. Then he goes to the bass, cuts the bass off, and he tries to tell the singer to stop. We don't stop. We keep going. The crowd likes us now because we're like the rebels.
Oh, I love it.
So it was, and then we ended the song and the organizer came, had an argument with the cop, told him to leave. We had the permits and all, and the cop left, and we finished our set, and we looked like champs.
Yeah, classic Matteo.
The Maniac Kings, baby. Yeah,
I love that. So a lot of people play double bass on the drums. You play triple bass.
With one foot only. Yeah.
Imagine that.
Yeah.
Jeez Louise.
Yeah, well, you have to be, you could technically do it. You'd have to have the 2 pedal, and then 1 pedal when you hit it, it has another pedal that hits at a different time, like a 2-second delay.
Oh, yeah.
Imagine it would be like, boop, 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 like a trail off.
You need to invent that.
That'd be some real quirky stuff, I need it, right? And I need 20 cymbals too, and all these gadgets.
And you only use 2 of them, but you just got so many up there, just in case. So when did you? Let's get the Face Off. When did you first watch it? What was your...
So I'll give you my history of Face Off because there is a history. So I recall Face Off was the previews like back in the day when they say the movies are coming out when you're a teenager, 1997. And it was like the movie to watch, right? Like it came out, it was like coming on the 1997. I don't know what month it was released, but I remember it was always like those previews, John Travolta, Nicolas Cage, Face Off, John Woo. And I'm like, damn, that's the movie. And I knew it was like an adult movie, however. This is no PG-13 affair. This is some like rated R A movie back, right? It ain't no like teeny bop movie. So I know I like movies a lot, and I knew this was like going to be an intense movie. Reviews were good. I'm all set for it. So me and my friends were in Ottawa. I'm still friends with these guys, like tight boys. Even one guy came to visit me in Korea. We're like, let's go watch a movie at the Silver City.
Yeah.
It's like the big cinema. Maybe you got that too in Georgia and Miami, like the same company. Silver City, it's called. It's big. They say go big or go home, So we go there. It's the new cinema. And I'm like, guys, here's the plan. We can't legally get into Face Off because back then, and even now, I guess they're still strict when you're like underage. They're like, okay, kid, let's see some ID because you have to be 18 to get in to that movie, right?
Yeah.
And
it was R-rated for sure.
R-rated. So I'm like, guys, here's the plan. Let's just buy movie tickets for Air Force One starring Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
Because that movie was playing at the same time. And I had
that's
some
believable
boys
too. You weren't buying movies you weren't buying tickets for a G animated movie. You're like, we're gonna go see Air Force One. So people are like, okay, that makes sense.
And it is allowed because Air Force One was AA.
Mm-hmm.
Like it wasn't PG, but it wasn't rated R. And I was 14 years old at this point. So that's the movie it's no problem. So my friends, they're like, and some of them were actually pushing for Air Force One. They're like, no, man, Air Force One. I'm like, guys, come on. Face Off is the movie. Like, let's Face Off Air Force One versus Face Off the movie itself. Like, I believe it's the better contender. So we buy the tickets. And you know the way it is. You give your ticket and then you just walk forward in the alleyway. And on the left, there's all the different cinemas. I'm like, boys, let's go. Like, it's right here. And then the guys get scared. They're all like, oh, no, we can't do it. We'll get busted. No. So we're 4 guys. Every guy votes. No, we got to go to Air Force One. We're going to get in trouble. They're going to catch us. So boom, what do you know? Walk into Air Force One and feel like I'm a little angry. I'm like, God damn it, man. Little wimps. Like right across the hallway, we have a better movie, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And then I watch Air Force One, which was okay, entertaining. I can't deny it. But I did feel a little grudge the whole time. I'm like, why am I watching this movie like that? I want to be across the hallway, like Face Off, man.
That's where it's at.
And now that I look back, I think I was right. If I had to square them up, maybe we can do that later, but square up Air Force One versus Face Off, I think. What do you think?
Oh no, I mean, listen, Air Force One was fun, but it's just Die. I mean, Gary Oldman's good, Harrison Ford's good, but it's Die Hard on a plane. Face Off is insane. It's so John Woo, man. We just did a hard boiled episode. I mean, John Woo, his gunfights in his movies, it's just ballet. Like just the flying bullets, the melodramatic plots, the emotion. So in this movie, Woo didn't even like in Face Off, Woo didn't even want to worry about action. He's like, I just want to deal with emotion in this movie. And it's just so bonkers. It's the only John Woo movie that they let him be John Woo. Broken Arrow, they didn't let him be John Woo. Hard Target, they didn't let him be John Woo. Paycheck, they didn't let him be John Woo. Face Off is John Woo. You know what I mean? So
Yes,
I dig Air Force One, but I think Face Off is more of the singular vision. And I think that's why it has a 92% tomato meter rating. That's why it made over, 250 million worldwide. I mean, this movie was a blockbuster, dude. It was a big deal. It was big money because it's just so weird. It's a weird movie.
It's also unique and not commercial. Like, yes, they're all commercial in a way, but Air Force One, you knew it was going to be your commercial summer blockbuster.
Mm-hmm.
Get off my plane. You got your license.
Exactly.
Like, it's that safe movie, and Face Off was not safe.
Oof, not in the least. And do you think people like that though? Because, I mean, someone said that's the weirdest movie ever greenlit. A studio executive said that, and it's weird, man. This is a major movie with, I mean, you have Nicolas Cage in the beginning dressed as a priest dancing, grabbing butts. And then you have just the weirdest scenes imaginable in this movie. Just the emotion. But it's not safe. You're right. It is not safe. There's nothing about Face Off that's safe. And that's why I love it, right? Like, that's why I think it's held up.
It held up, and I'm happy that, I mean, I never thought of that movie in years. Like, we're talking like 15 years. Never thought of it. It escaped my mind. I like the way I did that because
That was good. Face Off.
Yeah.
You know that guy who did that went and directed The Notebook after this.
I heard, yeah. I actually
Dietrich
I checked that. Yeah, Dietrich. What a cool. I liked him back then, that character.
Dude, he was cool.
And I
man.
like him again. We'll talk about him, but he's actually nuisance. He's not just a bad guy. Like, he's got family values too, and he's protecting the kid and the sister-in-law. Like, that's what I liked. But I guess we're going a little forward.
We can go wherever we want, man.
Balance it, but like, I like that side. It's all about duality, right?
Mm-hmm.
They give you the inside of the bad guys, how they hang out.
Yep.
Like, they care about each other too. It's not just, oh no, bad guys are all pricks and they're ready to backstab. Except one person is an ultimate prick in the movie. Castor. He shoots Dietrich. Like, that guy's irredeemable. I saw it again, like when I watched it again, I forgot how much of a prick he was.
So bad.
Because you like him, right? Like, he's so cool and we could talk, he's awesome, but man, he's a jerk. Like, he really is. Cause I want him to win. I don't know why, but I normally cheer for bad guys in movies. It's some problem I have, like, for the underdog, and bad guys are always the underdog because they always die normally in a movie.
Yeah, no.
But I kind of like him more. Like, he's fun, right?
Mm-hmm. I love his journey though in this movie. So you have Castor. He's, I love whenever he goes, he has the box, right? So he has the knife, the chiclets, the pills, the weed, the glasses, like the gum, all that. They carry a box for him in all places. He's kind of the larger than life 90s villain. Remember those villains after Die Hard? With Alan Rickman? They're smart and they're unique and they're weird. I'm gonna suck your tongue. Like, just, they're comically over the top. But I love when he becomes Travolta. And it's very creepy. I mean, creepy. But the whole thing with the daughter and how he beats up the kid from that 70s show, Danny Masterson.
Yeah, beautiful. I love that part.
And he gives her the knife. And then he's like lecturing her about like killing people. Do you have protection? No, here's a knife. Protect yourself. And the creepy stuff with the wife. And then there's a scene where he shows up to her later on. He's like, lies, mistrust, all of this. This feels like a real marriage. So he doesn't know. Remember when he gets lost in the suburbs and he has to go to they got 3-time Oscar nominee Joan Allen for this movie. And she's by her son's grave where, John Travolta has to act. And I like that journey. It's dark. It's dark comedy. And studios.
Oh, I laughed. I remember laughing. Like, when he goes to the house, remember? When he drives by, he doesn't know where he lives. And he's like, and you could tell she loves it because people, not women, well, in general, the bad men, the so-called bad guy, at some point, they're attractive in a way, right? Like, you got Sean Archer, the goody two-shoe cop, and we realize in the diary that they haven't had sex in, like, I don't know, was it 2 months?
Years? Yeah, sometime. Yeah, 2 months.
6 years? Get him out of the house. That's a weak man, but you know what I mean? Like, Now we're gonna talk about people.
He's a pain in the butt, man. Travolta in that movie. They're like, "Congrats, you got him." No, we had a bunch of agents killed, which is right, but he's kind of a buzzkill in it. So yeah, you're right. When I love how they're playing "Papa's Got a Brand New Bag" when he shows up. It's just such on the nose music. I love it. But yeah, he adds a little something. He makes her lobster. And so can I tell you something interesting? I don't know if you know this, but on the commentaries, I listened to 2 commentaries for it, and there was one with John Woo and the writers, and then there was one with just Mike Werb and Michael Collery, and no one wanted to make the movie because of that scene where he seduces Joan Allen, because in the script it was like this really gross, like hard, like R scene, and so John Woo didn't want to do that, Nick Cage didn't want to do that, Joan Allen didn't want to do that, so then they it's still a messed up scene, but they did it as a way of him just whining and dining, not
raping.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And so everyone hated that scene, and they got kicked out of several studios because of that scene. And so I just thought it was really interesting that the way that scene happened, like just the way because yeah, I mean, Travolta hadn't done that. Archer, he was such a brat, just coming home complaining, yelling at his daughter. I don't know. I just
it just shows the other side of life, because you got the straight edge cop.
Mm-hmm.
But you see that in everyday life. I mean, I've got friends who represent one spectrum,
mm-hmm.
others who represent the other, and I know where I fall, and you fall in. We all fall within there. And you can probably think of people in your life who'd be like, yeah, I can see Mula pulling this off, or Norbert, or maybe Matteo, or pulling smooth moves off, or being the opposite and being super like, no, we can't have fun. Like some of my friends, when I'm like, let's sneak into Face Off. And like, no, it's against the law. We're 14. We have to go watch Air Force One. Kind of like, that would have been a Casper move. Like, buy the false ticket, make a move, take a gamble.
You're the Casper Troy of the group. You're the drummer, man. You're the wild card. You're the rock star out there. So you're the Casper Troy.
Like, I like to think, like that.
I'm like in the middle.
So I do. You're in the middle?
Yeah, I would say. Yeah. I'm a Caster Archer. No, wait.
Archer? Caster Archer, part 2
Troy.
Face Off. They're going to make a part. They're remaking the movie.
It's not going to work. And let me ask you a question, Matteo. So you remake this super serious, or you remake it as a comedy. It's still going to be sort of self-conscious, right? It's going to be winky. What I love about Face Off is, John Woo's movies, his early things, The Killer, Hard Boiled, there's a lot of melodrama. There's a lot of synth scores. There's a lot of doves. There's a lot of people looking off into the distance contemplatively. Exactly. A lot of doves. And this movie, it's just this interesting, it's very earnest. How's that sound? The emotion in it, the scenes, the Somewhere Over the Rainbow. I think there's an earnestness to it with the violence that make it work. So if you remake this, I mean, every movie's remade, so I'm not worried about it being remade because everything is. But how could you make a Face Off sequel successful? Does that make sense? You can't be super serious. You can't be over the top. Like, how can you blend it? This movie was blended perfectly. And
it's almost like you said, not manipulated, not intentionally blended. Let's be funny here. Let's be super violent here. He just made it like a ballet, like I read he likes to do that. It was just earnest is a good word, honest. There was no
there it is. Yeah.
Manipulations. And you're right. Now they're going to be like, okay, well, we have Face Off. It was really violent, but it had comedy. But it was comedy through such a contrast, because it's not really like a comedy movie, but it's just because the character, he's a prick. It's like the Shakespeare movie, I forget that term. I used to study English literature, but when the audience knows what's happening, but the characters don't.
Oh, so there's suspense or there's shock. So
there's a word though, the theatric word for literary word, where the audience, we know that it's Shakespeare's do that when he'd have men become women and women become men, in his plays. Mm-hmm. And I, at the moment, can't think of that correct play, but there's plays where the identities are mistaken.
Got it. Oh,
and,
yeah.
It's funny because we know what's going on, but the characters have no clue. So when Travolta shows up as Castor, as a total jerk at the house, he's a psycho criminal. So had we not known, it'd be like, this is a horror movie, he can just murder her, but we know he's not really that person, so it's like a comedy right there.
Yeah, because you can laugh with it. But you're right. If you played it one way, it could be a total horror movie. But the way they played it was more of he still had the menace, right? Remember when he meets his daughter for the first time and you're like, oof, how old is this kid? They should probably be showing this. So there's some menace there, but there's also him just like he's like, this is getting real. Like, I have a family now. This is like,
and you got to look after her. He's actually going to be like, you know what? I'm going to look after her. Here's a knife, and when he sees that prick in the car, you know it's going to be like, because I remember that scene, but not well. And when I was waiting for it, I'm like, I remember he kicks that guy's ass. I'm like, I can't wait to see that scene again.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's been why? Because when's the last case? So I saw that movie.
He grown man's this guy.
15 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I didn't see it that time in the theater because I couldn't. I had to wait for it to come out on like DVD, or was it video back then?
Yeah, VHS.
VHS, and then I didn't watch it for years. Like, I might have seen it once in a while on TV, but it wasn't like out of my way. But I just remember, and why we're talking about it is I remember on Facebook you put those challenges, and then I just said, man, Face Off is an action movie. Why is that off the radar? I felt like it's been the forgotten movie.
You're right.
And now I'm glad I said it, and then you said let's do it, because for real, I would have not thought of it had you not put those movie challenges. And I'm like, even the name, it's a face-off, right? This movie versus this movie. I'm like, we got ourselves a winner here.
So you bring up a great point, because when you look at action movie history, right? And maybe we're taking ourselves out of a bubble. You and I come from completely different places for movies, but I think we can agree that when you talk about tier 1 mentioned action films, Face Off doesn't come into play. I mean, when you think about
for some reason.
I mean, when I think more people think about The Rock or Hard Boiled or The Matrix, right? It's not.
Well, those are after. I think like one of mine is like Predator. I think that falls in a tight top contender, but violent as crazy. Again, another movie. Were you allowed to watch rated R movies?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I watched everything when I was
younger.
Allowed? So when I was younger,
you?
Oh yeah, I went and saw Pulp Fiction when I was 12 with my mom, and for a while when I was like 9 or 10. I took myself off of R-rated movies for a while because I was like, man, I just can't, because I watched an R-rated movie and I was like, this is too much for me. I think it was Reservoir Dogs or something. And when I was 10, I was like, man, this is above my pay grade. And so I was like, I'm not going to watch R-rated movies for a while. I'm going to get straight. I'm going to watch PG movies, PG-13. But then Lethal Weapon 2 came out. I was like, oh, well, I got to watch that. So
we had it different.
Yeah, I tried to take myself off of R-rated because I was like, this is too much for me. I'm learning too much. Like, I shouldn't be watching Exit to Eden at age 11. So but yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I love that you said that, man, because
I'm the opposite.
Oh, really? Yeah,
I was always about trying to watch these movies. Like, I wasn't allowed. So like, I'd go to my Mexican friend Pedro Soto. This guy, he had the black box.
Oh yeah, I remember those. Yeah,
and his parents let him watch whatever. So I remember watching Bloodsport, a very violent
that changed you, didn't it?
Yeah, and I was like, then I'd go home and I'm like, I can't. My dad wouldn't let me. Then we go to Blockbuster, Rogers, to rent a movie, and I try and grab rated R movies, thinking I'm gonna outsmart my dad. I'm like, oh yeah, you just shuffle this one. He just turns. He's like, no, we're gonna watch Turner and Hooch. I don't know what, but it's like, or anybody who'd take me to rent a movie, I'd always try and pass a quick one. Take the most violent looking movie, like one of the covers with guns and girls, and then like my uncle's like, no, we're gonna watch the PG-13 one.
I bought Natural Born Killers used on VHS. I bought Kids used on VHS. I was like the unsupervised feral child of the 90s.
You're allowed.
Yeah.
But
I love your point, man. I guess with this movie, why do you think? Because, all right, you know what you brought up, Predator, right? Or The Rock. So, Predator is guys in the jungle get attacked by something more powerful than them. T2, right? It has some higher elements to it, but it's a chase film, essentially. Then you have The Rock, where we have to break into Alcatraz and fight. And it really does get better from there, but Face Off, it's like, do you think it's so complicated and over the top that it's not considered a tier 1 action movie because of its bonkers plot? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's because it's confusing when you think of it like, oh, he's him now. Sometimes like maybe people get confused of who's who.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like just the concept when I'm like watching, oh yeah, okay. I sometimes have to remind myself.
Yeah.
Like, if we're gonna go into weaknesses, I mean, weaknesses of the movie.
Do you think the performances
like the action is good? They're good. You know what? I thought, like I said, so I haven't watched it in 15 years about I got ready for this, so I watched it last week. I think it was Sunday night because we were gonna go Tuesday, and then no, I actually liked the performances. Like, yeah, they're a little over top, but when he comes at the airport with his jacket flowing and he's like just crazy, and he grabs the girl in the airplane and he's like, lick my tongue. I'm like, man, what a jerk! I forgot how crude it is. Like, this guy is just like an appetite for everything, but he cares about his brother.
Yeah, ties his shoes.
Like, it's cool. That's like that little touching, and you almost hope that he feels bad for killing his kid, but he doesn't. He's like, you're in the way, it's an accident, and you almost hope he feels bad at the cemetery, but he really doesn't. He's probably just thinking, when can I go and get to bed with her again?
Yeah.
Like, he gives you that hug and that little like, it's gonna be okay, baby. But like, you want to give Castor like some benefit, but he barely. I even think he shoots his sister in the shootout. You know, the Mexican shootout when they're all in the church. Yeah. I think he might just shoot her. Doesn't give a damn, because they just start shooting, but he's just, because she gets shot, right? Gina Gershon.
Yeah, and then she's like, don't let our kid grow up to be like us. She was deadly too, man. She was wiping out cops.
Yeah. Oh, I like her. I like that scene too, like how the duality again, that they take the kid, so like there is a hope for that new child.
That's classic John Woo, man. He hates. You know what's interesting about this is he hates having the villains be all villainous, and then he hates having the good guys be all good.
Sean Archer's good though. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
He's pretty much too good. He's like, even doesn't want to kill people in the prison.
Yeah, you're right.
He shoots everybody in the leg. He's like leg shots and like. But he embraces the evil when he's in that fight. You know, it's Nicolas Cage at this point, but he's like getting his ass kicked, and you look at him and he's like crying because he has to fight this guy.
Yeah.
Have you ever done, like, I mean, everybody's got a different, so here's the thing about the point of the fight in the prison, back to that, is because you see that he's struggling, right? When he has to like kill it, like beat up what's his name? Dobov?
Yep.
Dubov.
It's an interesting name, isn't it? Yeah. Dubov.
So Dubov, like, he doesn't feel good about kicking his ass.
No.
Like, he just doesn't. You can tell. But Castor would have loved it. He'd been licking the blood off he would go crazy for it. So he's got to put an act where you can see he's like, I don't want to do this. And some people have that, like me. I remember I went to Toronto and I did a little boxing after Korea when I left. And I realized I like sparring all, but I don't like punching people.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think like Castor has no filter. He would like kill that guy and eat his kneecaps if he could, you know? But like
a lot of gut punches in that fight, by the way, because they didn't want him to get punched in the face too many times because he just got a new face. So they did a lot of gut shots of Nick Cage. Nick Cage, his belly was worked in that fight. Made me laugh. That was a big. Oh, sorry, Matteo. That was a big thing on set, though. They were like, "How many times can we punch him in the face and make people not worry about his face falling off?" So they had to add in 80% gut shots and 20% face punches to that fight. They had a math to how many times he gets punched.
Okay, to make it realistic, like so that like.
Well, because, you know, you just got a new face and you're getting punched in it. People are going to be worried. Like, is that thing going to slip off? So
that would be funny.
They just worked the belly in that thing.
Yeah. Body shot him.
They're traumatic if you get hit right, by the way, in the gut. For sure.
Well, he must have had a six-pack, right?
Yeah. Nick Cage was ripped during those days, right?
Nick Cage, yeah.
He was just coming off of Con Air.
The Rock and Con Air were before that.
Yeah. Dude, his run, so I call his run the prison run, where he did The Rock, Con Air, and Face Off. So The Rock break into prison, Con Air is about a prison plane, and then in Face Off he goes to prison. Back to back to back, and they were all blockbusters. Like, that's an epic action run, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, oh, he was on fire.
On fire. He was cashing checks.
Yeah, he was. He was like doing his thing well, and like good actor. Yeah, he was really doing it.
Sorry I steamrolled your fighting comment, but you were just saying
it's all good.
Some people don't like fighting, but you could see the duality of Archer and Troy, because Troy would have eaten that guy's kneecaps, and then Archer just had a hard time. He didn't want to do it. He didn't want to hurt this guy, but then he had to kind of embrace it. I would say, right, just to stay alive. I would think.
The psychic switch there, the psychology. He's like, looks at his brother, looks at people. He's like, well, I have to be this animal if I'm going to survive here, because it's like the nature, like the predators. You got to be the strong will eat the weak, and he's got a target on his back. He's Castor. He's supposed to be the badass. And if he starts acting like a chump, like, what the hell's going on here? Even his brother's like, what's going on with you? You're a chump. Even his brother's ready to turn his back on him. Yeah. He might not know that he's a fake. Maybe it's not that. You know, he's all like, I don't know, bro. What's my medicine? Like, I don't think he's thinking like, oh, this is a clone of my brother, but I think he's like, you're not going to be my brother anymore if you can't man up.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you're not, because they live in that world of like treachery and like backstabbing and like just bloodlust. Even his brother's like, oh, I'm getting turned on by these like water animals. Remember, he's watching the screen.
Yeah, that was weird.
Like we're talking some weird people here.
Yeah.
Like,
and you know what's kind of crazy too? That in the prison, Nick Cage and Alessandro Nivola, and I love their names by the way, named after what the Greek gods, Pollux and Castor, the twins. It's beautiful. But
my dad told me that. Well, we'll go to that after, but go your thing.
Oh, so they had a story where, and the writers hated it. The writers had massive fights on set about this because they freestyled this speech about how they became crazy because their dad made them wear pink dresses, and that's stupid. Like that's not. I hate hating, right? But that
would have been bad. That'd been weak.
And so they cut that scene out. But there was fights because they wanted it in. And so I mean,
Who's
Nick Cage, and I mean Nick Cage is at the height of his power. So if he's freestyling about how he became evil, he could sway. You know what I mean?
Yeah, a team. Yeah.
And so like Face Off too. You know the studio. There's big fights about Face Off. Should there be a slash in it? Should it be face off? Face/off? Should there be a space in between it? Like this isn't hockey. Like this is face off. People get their faces off and they face off. That's the movie. And Nick Cage. That scene when he gets with Dietrich, when he goes to his really cool club or apartment or loft.
Party. The party.
And so he just says face off. And then he does it again, face off. And then Dietrich goes face off. They did that to ensure that the title was face off. Those lines weren't written. So Nick Cage helped the writers get the movie titled Face Off by just including it in the movie a lot. And so he had that much power. So imagine him freestyle about wearing a pink dress when he was younger and becoming evil. That's stressful. Because you can't really, he's a good dude, but you can't really say that to Nick Cage in 97. Because he had just won an Oscar from Leaving Las Vegas. Yeah, he was the biggest star on the planet, I would say. Probably top 5, let's say. Will Smith and Tom Cruise and stuff. But Julia Roberts, Sandra Bullock. But yeah, so Denzel, I would say those are like in the top tier. Travolta.
In the 90s?
Yeah, I would say.
I'm trying to think who else is big.
Because remember, Will Smith every movie he did was big.
Independence
Tom Cruise,
Day.
Tom Cruise was crushing it. Denzel was crushing it. Julia Roberts.
Arnold, but Stallone was still in the game. Yeah, but Arnie.
Remember in the 90s?
Lives?
Yeah, that was 94, right? And then he did a couple movies that weren't as big, like Eraser. So he was huge, but he didn't have. Okay, he was still AA list, but he didn't have the momentum Cage had.
He wasn't propelled. He was free flying. He was not going up.
Exactly.
How about our good man from Die Hard?
Bruce Willis?
Yeah, Fifth Element. When was that? That was
97, right? Yeah. So I mean, but that wasn't a hit.
No,
but he was a hit later.
It was still a hit. I mean, it was still all big. But Cage was
I guess
propelled now. Leaving Las Vegas, he showed he could act not just fighting. Then The Rock kept him going.
Yeah, he had the momentum, let's say. So there's AA list, but he was skyrocketing at the time. How's that sound?
Yeah, what do you think of Travolta at that point?
Oh, he was skyrocketing too. So I'm looking at. I did a video for Rotten Tomatoes.
Fiction.
Yeah. So I did a video for Rotten Tomatoes where we did Travolta versus Cage, and so I have all their data here. So in '94 he did Pulp Fiction, then he did White Man's Burden. That wasn't big. But then he did Get Shorty, which was huge. Right?
Gene Hackman in that one.
Yeah, and then he did Broken Arrow, which was huge. Michael, that was a $100 million plus movie. He was an angel, and it made over $100 million.
Angel.
Then Phenomenon, the one where he gets really smart, and then that one made over $100 million. Then he did She's So Lovely. That background character. They did Mad City with Dustin Hoffman. That wasn't big, but then he did Face Off. So I mean, he was coming off of Pulp Fiction, Get Shorty, Broken Arrow, Michael, Phenomenon. I mean, those are big business right there. So they were both hot. I mean, they were red hot at the time.
Yeah.
And I think this movie works better with them as opposed to Stallone and Schwarzenegger.
It would have never been as. It would have been
quippy.
I don't want to insult them, but they're not as versatile actors. Let's cut to the chase.
Mm-hmm.
They're more physical and just bulky or strongman actors. But I can't picture Castor being some goonish guy. He's more of a rogue villain.
Yeah.
A rogue is quick thinking, witty. His fighting style is not power and muscles. It's quick, boom, boom, smoosh, gunshots, hiding in the shadows. He's got flair, debonair, like a bard, like a rogue.
Yeah. A lot of jumping. And John Woo, jumping in the air and shooting.
Finesse, you picture him. You can't see Arnold being that guy.
Mm-mm. No.
And B, when is Arnold a bad guy too, like that? Like, get over here, Bonnie.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make out with you. I'm gonna like kill you. Like, and then it's Stallone too. Like, you could see Stallone being an archer. That's like his classic role, like just like the good guy cop.
Mm-hmm. But he couldn't have pulled off what Travolta did with his goody-goody not sanctimonious, but I do like the scene where he's like, I don't want to celebrate because our people got killed. I guess.
And it's true. A lot of people got killed. I remember that scene, like, damn, they're almost, he's a jerk. What's his name? He just purposely kills them for fun in the hangar.
Yeah.
He like singles them out. And he's just like, like you said, it's fun for him. Remember we keep saying, aren't you having fun yet?
Mm-hmm. And then he's just murdering folks. And he's kind of chaos, right? He's like the Joker before the Joker, I guess.
Yeah, it reminded me, like, when I thought of a pink dress, suddenly when you tell me that, it makes me think of Heath Ledger when he's in the hospital wearing a dress coming out of the hospital.
Yeah. Whoa, when he's dancing as the priest.
Yeah.
I wonder if he channeled Nick Cage a little bit in that movie.
So, like, these things from the past and the future, but, like, that's the imagery I'm getting.
Wow, I love that.
Tell me that.
Oh my God.
You're giving me that right there.
Hey, so how about this? Let's take a quick break, and then when we come back, we will talk more Face Off. We'll be right back.
Boom.
Welcome back to Movies, Films, and Flicks. And Matteo, I have something cool for you. I was listening to the commentary, and I love that. All right, so there's two things I love. The final boat chase they shot first with all their second units, and then the studio loved it so much they gave the movie extra money, which makes me happy. It's kind of funny. And then also in the beginning, the plane chase with the helicopter, the original script had a big action scene, but they cut it because it cost too much money. But then John Woo said, I want this scene, so they shot it, and that cost more. So they cut an action scene that was going to cost too much money, but then they filmed an action scene that cost more money with that opening plane chase. I mean, a plane is taken down by a helicopter. You don't see that much.
You'll see that. And I looked into that scene actually, and they said that so expensive, like you said, that they only probably John Woo had put full of cameras in there because he knew if they screwed up, that's over, game over. Yep. He could not screw this shot up. So they have so many cameras in there, depending on the angles. If one angle there was a mistake, because I looked into that exact scene and they said it was like really expensive. Yeah. And he couldn't afford to reshoot. No, they had to get it right.
Get that coverage. So I mean, if you blow up a couple cameras, that's fine. You don't have to go back and reshoot it. Man, that's what I love though. This movie, they blow up planes, they blow up boats. I mean, when you see these action scenes, that stunt double who was skiing on his feet got so swollen they had to cut his pants off him because they couldn't take the pants off. That stunt.
Oh, I saw. Yeah, it's true.
It's nuts. And like just the stunt crew that they had. I mean, this movie had like just the best that money could buy. I think as like the cinematographer Oliver Wood, that dude has done so many movies, and so it's one of these rare. I know this is going to sound like a weird word, but nowadays, and I'm not hating on these movies, they're very digital, right? There's just a lot of effects. This felt like an analog movie. I'm not insulting
raw.
it.
Well, raw, like you see, what is there is there. There's not a lot of polish with like extra graphics that are like making these movements. Even the actors, like the moves they do, the contortions, the action. It's like, but it's the era before that, like this is like Matrix, pre-Matrix, like the bending and shooting and these kind of things. It reminds me of when I watched it recently. It made me think a little bit of Matrix, the way they shoot guns and stuff.
Well, the Matrix, they loved the Wachowskis. They loved John Woo. So you watch the gunfighting in these films, and it's straight up from Woo. I mean, just his jumping and his ballet and his movements. I mean, remember if you think about the movements in Matrix, they're they're slow motion, but they're very not ballaic. They're very elegant. They're very, what's the word?
Graceful.
Graceful. And so but that's what I think, man. Chow Yun-Fat and Hard Boiled in this movie, I think Travolta and Cage do a really good job with their jumping and shooting and their sort of graceful movements. But yeah, I just really like how, I don't know, it's just an elegant, it's this, so I showed it to my wife and she's like, I don't know what to think about this. She likes how Hard Boiled 100 times more than this movie.
Really?
Yeah. Because I guess the over-the-top performances and then the whole Joan Allen subplot kind of turned her off. But I don't know, man.
Why does she feel like she's a victim?
Yeah.
I don't know if it's viewed as a perspective as a woman or like the new ways we're thinking. Like, is it viewed now at like she's just a victim in the movie?
I would say so because it's
being played like she's being played essentially.
Exactly. And Travolta goes off and becomes Nick Cage, or you know what I mean. Archer becomes Troy, but he doesn't tell her. And so she's she has this villain come into her home, and she doesn't know it. And at the end, she's like, "Ah, it's cool." Like that's
But I mean, is it? Well, you're right. But she actually is instrumental to take him down.
yeah.
When
No,
she like
gets
takes
it,
the
yeah.
blood, she's not just some helpless girl like woman. She like gets the blood sample, and I love the fact that the daughter too is instrumental. She stabs him in the leg.
And that I love.
It's all about the word Troy. Now that I think about it, the Trojan horse tactic,
Yeah.
is going in where you shouldn't go. Like, right? That's how like the Trojan War is, right?
He was hiding in that body.
So it's all hiding, man, and everything's hiding in this movie. Like the knife is hiding.
Yeah.
Stabs him.
That's a good callback right there. I love it, man. Don't you?
There you go. I feel like a champion now. But yeah, I never really thought of it. But yeah, that's the concept of the movie too.
Because I mean, yeah, you're sneaking in.
Each other.
Yep, you're sneaking in, and it's and you know what I kind of like too is, I guess one good thing about this movie is there's consequences, right? He decides to go undercover, and you know I love that scene where he finds out he's gonna be locked in prison for 100 years. No, like it's so silly, but a lot of people die. Like his friends die, their friends die. This weird game that these two are playing puts his family in danger. There's danger in this, and I think sometimes I watch movies and I don't feel like there's stakes, or I don't feel like I don't need wanton murder, right? But I do feel murderous actions and absolute just dedication to getting your guy, which puts your family at risk. There's consequences in this movie, I think, and
Agreed. Good for.
And I think that works too. Is that there's I mean, Gina Gershon dies, like his girlfriend dies, his friends die, his brother dies, and this is just a game that these two are playing, and they suffer big time. But I think that's what would happen, right, Matteo? Like that's you play the game, you know, you're gonna lose.
People around you are gonna get affected.
Yeah.
Like in small ways, big ways, even things like in action things we do in our life in smaller scales. Like I ain't going out shooting people here in Korea either. I don't think you're taking people out in Georgia. Nope. Side job, but like in other factors, decisions we make will affect people we love or don't. Like you're talking about Corona in certain moments in your life. Like people go somewhere, do things, and then it could affect ripple effect. So in that movie, Archer is really greedy because he had him. Case was closed. Like I got the guy. And then they're like, they tempt him with the fish. They're like, oh, look, what if we go in deeper, one more level? Like, let's go and get the ball. Like, and then guess what? And he told his wife too, what was it, the scene before? Like, baby, we're done. I'm retiring. Like, I'll stay home. I'll get a good job. She's happy. We've closed that chapter, right? With our son, his passing away. It was done.
Yep.
But no, he needs more.
It's stupid they didn't tell his wife too, because I don't know if it's stupid or not. Is it stupid they didn't tell his wife?
I mean, it is probably protocol though. That's normal.
Yeah,
I think if you have to go realism, let's go realism.
Yeah,
I think
true.
if you're talking, it is a selfish move, but realism, I think you wouldn't tell your wife. I mean, he could, but it's not. He has to be like, and he's a professional. He's a goody two shoe. He ain't gonna break the rules.
Yeah, it's
Archer.
True.
I wonder if they took Archer from the TV show Archer too.
Whoa, that'd be amazing. At least
little like.
Yeah, you're right. And then also that bomb that's the weird. Do you think that's the weirdest movie bomb in the history of movie bombs?
Because I love it. Look.
Oh, sorry.
That part is so funny. But go for it.
Like executive decision, right? The whole movie revolves around. It's what Joe it's Joe Morton. He's in a stretcher and he can't move. And then it's
Kurt Douglas. You mean that movie with the airplane?
Yeah, with Kurt Russell.
Steven Seagal?
And then Steven Seagal. And then Oliver Platt.
Quickly.
Oliver Platt detonates, saves the world by putting his straw in it, and so it doesn't detonate. That whole movie revolves around this bomb. In this movie, there's a bomb, but it's done by the first hour. Like, Travolta just goes and gets rid of it. It's the weirdest. There's a week timer. There's a 1 week timer on it.
Yeah.
Which is insane, and I love it. But it's such a weird bomb. It's the weirdest movie bomb in cinema. Like Broken Arrow. There's a ticking clock and a bomb blows up underground. It's a bomb. This is the plot of the movie. This bomb is going to go off. And then they just boop, doo, doo,
but it's not the plot. It's like a sleeper agent bomb too. It's like a joke though. Like even his brother Pollock's when he does it, it's like more of like a vanity bomb.
Yeah.
Like look at this funny bomb I can do because they're crazy.
Yeah.
To them, it's like they don't there's no practicality here. It's like we're just gonna cause chaos and kill people.
The Joker.
Chaos, man. The Joker, like, it's just like, let's have fun. And Pollock does it, like, they explain the bomb. It's like, haha, I'm such a genius. I made this crazy bomb. And I don't, like, care.
No, they didn't. They were gonna.
And the way he
people.
disarms it, I love it. That's part of the comedy. When they set it up, when he's like, I know the code for the bomb. And he comes there and he's like, get away. And they're like, sir, we can't. He's like, and he does.
Clear the building.
You know?
Yeah.
Clear the building. I got this. Yeah.
He becomes the hero.
The hero. And while what's his name's in prison, like dying, like struggling.
Yeah, man.
And he's just like.
Times Man of the Year.
Yeah.
And you know
getting reporting and all like. Because he's playing the game and he loves it. He's like infiltrated the world. He's all like.
He's going around grabbing butts.
I love it. Yeah, he's just a total dirtbag, like, and he's good at it. And he even like kills his boss with the heart attack.
Yeah.
Karen, what is it? Karen, is that her name?
Yeah.
He's like, he's had a suffered stroke. He just like chops him in the neck.
That was his mentor too, and everyone. I love how the finale of the movie revolves around his funeral, too. Which that was his Victor Lazaro, right? Wasn't that his?
Yeah. He got taken out too. Everybody gets taken out, like.
And speaking of consequences, he uses too much intel, and people are like, "This isn't normal. You're gonna get looked into." That's a neat thing, right? They're just thinking your intel's too good. Like Washington's on to you. So
what's going on here? Yeah.
So he thinks he's gonna become the biggest thing in the world, but then he goes because he's crazy and he uses too much, and people are like, "No, this isn't right." It's another good move in a screenplay. I love that part about it. And then he has to kill the guy.
Yeah, he's like, Lazaro's gotta go. Heart attack, right? The casual heart attack.
The neck chop.
And I love it. He notices that he's coughing.
Mm-hmm.
Because I didn't catch that. I actually, when I watched it, I saw him cough, and then what's his name looks at him. I'm like, am I supposed to catch on here? So I scrolled back, played that scene again, and that's how smart he is though. Because he's like, because he has no clue this guy's got heart problems. He doesn't know him, right? Castor has no clue but he noticed he had a weird cough. He's a smart man. He's like, boom, I got him. If I kill him, heart attack. Everybody knew he had a history. He wouldn't have done it had he not seen that cough, when he coughs. He's like, got you.
Is that why you always try to punch me when I was coughing in Korea, Matteo? Whenever I coughed, you're always trying to punch me in Korea when I was coughing. Is that why?
Yeah. I don't know.
Matteo was trying to kill me in Korea.
Really, if I was trying, I would have not missed. I was just working on my feint.
But it's smart. It's this weird movie that's smart, and then it also has a very Western meets Eastern feel too, successfully. So remember back then when in the 90s when America was trying to shoehorn in kind of Eastern action with like replacement
Jackie Chan?
Yeah, exactly. And so they were trying to shoehorn in Eastern aspects into Western films. I think this is one that did it. I mean, because John Woo was able to be John Woo in it, but I think it blends the melodrama with it, the shots and the doves and the slow motion and the crying with the balletic violence, I would say. And I love that it's finished up. So you have these gunfights that are super like kinetic and all this, and you have the boat chase, which is insane, but it finishes just like a nice American punch 'em up, which I kind of like. So it's a good blending of John Woo's gunplay, but then just two guys beating each other up on a beach and sidekicks.
At the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I dug that about it. I think Woo did a really good job of blending East meets West too. And I don't know. I think
Travolta said that.
Oh yeah.
I saw an interview just 20 minutes before he called, and I was watching some stuff, and he said with John Woo, it was perfect. It was so easy to bridge that gap.
Wow. Yeah.
Asian movies not. Go check YouTube. It's one of the interviews. He said that was so cool about that. We could just seamlessly bridge it.
Ah.
Just what you said.
Yeah, and hey, I didn't even know that. That's all. But right, you don't feel it. Does that make sense?
Yes.
It's very.
It's not forced.
It's like watch Hard Boiled, watch The Killer. The vibe is there, and I guess that's because they just let John Woo make a John Woo movie. So Michael Douglas produced this movie. Big star.
Yeah.
And
he believes in it, I guess, right? If he's got the
exact. And this script bounced around forever. It was too sci-fi. John Woo said that it was too sci-fi. They brought it to him after Hard Boiled. He's like, there's too much sci-fi. So then they rewrote it, and then he eventually got it again. He's like, okay, this is good. Because remember the prison? The prison was supposed to be a sci-fi prison. People were supposed to shoot upside down. So the only thing they kept from that prison were the boots, and those were 25 pounds each, and everyone hated them. But that was the only kind of sci-fi thing about that prison. But originally it's supposed to be like that movie Lockout.
Oh, did you know those boots? I checked where they come from. They come from Mario Bros. The movie.
Really?
Yeah, the Koopa
them?
boots. Yeah,
Oh.
and they just changed the look a little. But those are because it was like two things. What's in common with Face Off and Mario Bros? I'm like, what? That movie was garbage. Mario
Yeah.
with John Leguizamo, absolute trash. And then I was like, I clicked on what's common, and it was like those boots that they use in Face Off are the same ones that Koopa Troops use in the movie.
Oh, that's amazing. Oh man, see,
So
no, thanks for the research, man. I'm digging this. No, because I dove headlong into research on this, and you're bringing it too. This makes me happy. Oh, I love it.
One thing that so if I have to say like critic of the movie that I didn't like, and I'm trying to be like, I like realism a lot. Well, my movies are still an escape, but I was not a fan of how he escaped from prison. I loved everything till he jumped in the water and then he's free.
Yeah, like there's still a
That's
helicopter
the one
in
I'm
the
like,
air.
really? Because everything's cool. Like all the hardcore battle and awesome. And I remember being like, okay, he's gonna jump, but isn't there another scene? And it's like, no, he jumped into the water, done.
They would have boats. Like that helicopter's still around. He would have to resurface, right? They're not.
So that's probably my weak. There's 2 weak points in the movie for me.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of them, and it's passable. It's not like it ruins the movie. The only thing is you can say, well, Archer's a beast because he is, right? He's like the super fighter, like the man, action hero. We got ourselves, but still, like, yeah, sure, there's chaos in the prison, but it's the job of that helicopter. Come on.
Yeah.
Like, people are not retarded. Like, I don't know if I told this story, but I jumped out of a boat in Vietnam back in the day to swim to another boat, and I got caught by security spotlights in a Halong Bay. And I remember going underwater because they're like, hey, you! And I was swimming to another boat in this bay. I was not supposed to do that, just some adventure seeking,
Mm-hmm.
And I went underwater. I'm like, I'm going to lose them. But I'm like, Matteo, this is not a Nintendo game. Like, it's not like you come back up and the game resets. You remember those old games?
Yeah.
It's just like they don't know you're there anymore. So I came back out of the water and I tried to go around the boat. And like 10 seconds later, they moved the flashlight over a few feet. And here I am, like, they're not morons.
Yeah.
Like, and it was pitch dark too. I was in the middle of the night in Vietnam in Halong Bay, like near Hanoi, and I jumped out and like they got me. I was taken on board, and also I'm like broad daylight, like a team of soldiers, and they saw him jump,
Yeah.
and they're like, he's dead, and then everybody thinks he's dead except Castor. He's like, no, he's not. Find him. Remember?
Mm-hmm.
If he knows this guy's a pro, but that was a little. At least Castor was smart and like, no, he's not dead. Find him. But everybody else is like. In the news, it said Troy is dead. Remember?
Yeah, he's not dead.
Not dead.
He jumped 30 feet from a platform. So it's
Second
just
scene. I got another weak scene, and I'd like to know your weak scene that I rewatched. Sometimes, I click back. I always remember it when Pollux dies. I always remember it. And I watched it again, and I found it was so random how he's just input there on that roof.
It's just swinging on a cable perfectly into him.
Like, I know Pollux was I thought he was on the other roof when he, like, sets up the attack.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he's like, and then, okay, cool, he sets the attack up, and he's like, hoo-hoo, brother, his little voice, whatever, does his thing. And then, Archer runs up the building with the bomb when he's fighting against Castor. And then, out of nowhere, Pollux sees him, so he runs up that, like, little, like, ladder, and Cage runs up and takes a cable and just
right
that
into
too
him.
was it's realistic because Pollux sucks as a fighter. Like you see him take the gun and like score him with it. Like he's not agile. He's like the opposite of his brother, right? The nerd. So yeah, sure, he got him. But that's such a weird like boom. They want him to die to make tension and make like Castor go a little more angry and crazy, like you killed my brother. Makes sense, but the execution was just like jammed in a little randomly.
Yeah, well, they put him in the one spot where he could get kicked. And that's just kind of lazy writing. Imagine during that scene with the mirrors where he shoots through a mirror and somehow the guy had snuck back in there. And so he accidentally, because I don't think Sean Archer will murder in cold blood. So let's say he shoots through a mirror and kills Pollux. Like he doesn't know, but he still kills him. So that would give Castor a lot of anger because he killed my brother. Does that make sense? And it's not
It'd be beautiful too. It'd be very like you said, Shakespearean, all like the identities switch. He doesn't know like a Troy
falls.
once again, like the movie Achilles' heel. When Achilles and Patroclus gets killed, his friend Patroclus, when he wears Achilles' armor.
Yeah.
And our good old man what's his name kills him. I forget his name at the moment. I'm having a hard time remembering.
It's Hector.
Hector kills Patroclus, thinking it's Achilles. Once again, we got that Troy concept going on.
That's really interesting. Like, and also, like, he is kind of his Achilles heel because he's the one who orders the plane by himself, which causes everything to kick off.
Unravel.
Yeah, exactly.
And he's got the shoes too, right? It's something with the feet. Like he's always tying his shoes because he can't tie up his own messes. You know, he's like, when you tie something up properly, you close it. You don't give any leads.
Yeah.
But this guy can't close up the projects, so he needs his shoes tied. I mean,
so
like,
we have a villain who loves his family. Man. So, we're tying a lot of Troy stuff in here, man.
yeah, it's good. Yeah. Well, the Greek thing, I just want to say that's one thing I remember of that movie. I think I saw it with my dad, actually, which is weird because he didn't let me watch it, but I was older and he's like, hey, let's watch this movie. And a man can respect what a good action movie is. So my dad's like, this is a good movie, and we watched together. And he told me, he's like, I'm like, oh, Dad, what are those names? Like, they're so strange, you know? First time I hear Castor and Pollux. My dad's history teacher's like, oh, those are the two Greek brothers. They're warriors, he told me. They're really good warriors. And that's why I'm like, cool. And that's why they are good warriors. Well, Pollux ain't that good, but he's still a bad guy. Like, he's not
He can make bombs.
And I'm like, yeah, he's like he's a tough guy. You'd want him in a crew, probably, you know? Like, still.
Computer guy.
He's that guy, yeah, he's the brain. So I'm like, damn, Castor's a badass. Like, he's his name's after a Greek warrior. And I always liked mythology. Like, I read all that stuff. So I always remember my dad telling me that part, and it stuck with me till this day, like Castor and Pollux. And I researched on that. What's funny about what the director did in the real stories, Pollux is actually the better fighter, and Castor's the weaker one.
Whoa.
So they changed it, and Pollux is the one who Zeus is his father, because they're half brothers. They're not true brothers. So Pollux has the divine blood. He has the blood of Zeus in him, and Castor's actually the weaker one. They just share the same mom. But John Woo and the writers, they changed it. They made Castor the better fighter.
And I also love that the main character's name is Sean Archer, and he's a Sagittarius. The Archer, one of the constellations of the zodiac, is diametrically opposite halfway around the year from the constellation Gemini. Castor and Pollux are two major stars in the constellation Gemini. So this is another one, man. This is
because they like Zeus. I read that story. Castor said, Pollux said, I want my brother to be immortal like me. So Zeus said, sure. Boom, I make you both stars. He just made them stars.
Yeah,
like on a kind of a punishment way, like, sure, you're immortal, you want your brother to be immortal, I'll make you both immortal. Like, now you're Gemini, you're the stars, like you said.
Oh, so this movie has it. I love it. And I guess as we're wrapping up, I think there's enough what I like about this movie is there's some weird moments in it that just make it stick out from any mainstream. So when Gina Gershon when Sasha and Dietrich, when they're saying goodbye, they're like brother sister, but then they kiss. There's like that weird kiss in there. And there's just the little lines in there that make this movie weird. The freakouts. And I think there's just personality to it, if that makes sense. And you know what's weird? When Dietrich got killed, I was bummed out. This guy's a horrible, horrible man. Horrible man. When Sasha got killed, I was bummed out for her. When some of the cops get killed, I was bummed out for them. It's weird.
That's me, but yeah.
Yeah, the side characters, I guess, you like. It's an interesting. I like movies that allow side characters room to breathe, and I think that's why the 136 minutes, so 2 hours and 16-minute movie works, because it's not just action. There's a lot of drama in this movie as well, and some of it's played for laughs, some of it's played for serious. But I dig it. I dig that this movie was allowed to breathe, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's not rushed. Like Dietrich, awesome character. The way he cares about the son,
like
shoots the guys with the shotguns, and even helps. He loves Castor.
Mm-hmm. He does.
Like, I got you. And it's so horrible how Castor kills him.
Oh, man, that pissed me off.
He kills his friend. It's like, and you know why, right? Because he's somewhat of a rival, like, you know, in the drug world, but he actually killed his friend. He didn't have to. He saw him, puts the gun, pops him in the neck.
Yep.
And all this time, that guy's fighting for him.
Do you think the kiss annoyed him?
I don't think so.
Oh.
I don't, but it could be. Maybe you're seeing what I didn't see. I just think he's a complete, because he says, once we're cops, we're going to eliminate all our rivals. Like anybody who's in that world. Like, cause yes, they're friends, but in the same way, they might be at some points colliding for money of some kind.
Oh, I love it.
So,
I love it too about Castor. He didn't play the long game. He could have given tiny info, drop by drop, right? But he had to kill Sean. But I don't know. It's a smart movie. I think it's good, dude. I'm glad you brought it up. I'm glad to watch it again. Like you said, it'd probably been 15 years for me. So, no, I dug it. This was This was fun. Any final thoughts about this movie, man?
Final thoughts that I wanted to sneak in. I did appreciate the scene when he's looking in the mirror and he's all high.
Oh yeah.
Because we can maybe associate or not associate.
I just
to
did
that,
the face.
but,
The
face.
yeah.
Like whether you want to be drunk or whatever, anything happens in life. And when he's looking in that mirror and he's like disassociated completely.
Yeah.
Like his mind is gone and now he's on psychedelics. Who knows what? I checked what it was. There's no official real drug. They gave it a name in the movie, Quatrim or something. But it could be a plethora of different psychedelic drugs that they actually take in that movie. But he's like gone because he's become the enemy now. Like he's looking in the mirror and he's seeing the man he hates.
Yep.
And then he's acting well. Like it's crazy. Like I don't know, imagine being on LSD on mushrooms and you look and you see somebody you hate your whole life. Like you have a trip and you're like looking at yourself. You don't see you. You see like somebody who traumatized you all your life. We're lucky. Well, I can speak for myself. I don't have no traumas like that. Nobody's killed my brother, my son, my father. Like, but imagine being put in a position where you look in the mirror and you see the person you loathe the most in the world and you're on like some psychedelic drug. So now you are lost cause. You're like, have I become the monster? So he's blown out of the water at that point. Cage is acting. He's just like crippled, right?
Yeah.
Like destroyed, psychologically just finished. And I heard they made an extra at the end of the movie when he cuts his face. That's the face you're going to see forever. There's an alternate ending that they were going to make it, but they said it was too dark that he can't change his face. Like every time he looks in the mirror. Did you hear about this?
Yeah.
This part?
I did.
That he looks in the mirror and she sees him, but he sees Troy.
Oh,
Castor.
I didn't hear that. Oh, wow.
Okay, so basically this is an alternate ending, but they said it was too dark. So at the end of the movie, he's with his wife, and they're in a bathroom scene or anywhere where there's a mirror, and she looks in the mirror, like through perspective, and she sees it's Travolta, right, the actor, Archer. But then he looks at it like in perspective, and in the mirror, he sees himself as Castor.
That's dark.
And then that was one ending. Because it's still psychologically he's...
Oh, that's too heavy for an ending.
Because remember, he says that at the end of the movie when he cuts his face.
Mm-hmm.
This is the face you're always going to see, no matter what.
I remember the discussions about just keeping the scars on his face, but then they're like, "Wait, we can fix everything and suck out. We can insert hair and we can suck out love handles. We can fix scars." There's this. I thought you were talking about they were having discussions about having the scars on his face, but they're like, "Wait, that doesn't make sense. If they can cure everything else, they would fix his face."
No, they were going here.
Yeah.
Like psychological Stanley Kubrick styles, like going like in the mind.
Those scars are always going to be there for him.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's sad enough as an ending. I know that they brought the kid home, but I mean,
that was beautiful. I loved it.
Yeah, I
People
mean,
call it cheesy, but I love that. That made me happy.
They had to do it, right? He lost his kid. He gained a kid. He
good man.
Gina Gershon saved his life. You know, he took her back and he fulfilled her wishes. The kid the kid's an innocent in all of it. But I guess for the rest of their lives, they're going to be like, you face swapped with a criminal and he lived with us for a while, right? Like, it's a happy ending, but there's going to be strife, man. There's going to be, Joan Allen.
Fathering the enemy who killed your son.
Yeah.
And now you have his son.
Exactly.
But you're showing that you're the good.
Yeah.
You're going to make a positive difference. That's the father he needed.
Mm-hmm.
One less bad guy in the world, because if he was raised in that world, you got another animal. So in the end, it's like that one piece, the good wins. It's like you got that kid's going to become an example of goodness, not evil, which he would have been.
And I think the daughter took him in immediately. That was cool. But it was a good ending, man. It was a solid ending to a bonkers movie. The weirdest movie, they call it the weirdest movie, big budget movie ever greenlit. And I can't think of a weirder big budget action tentpole. Now, there's weirder smaller movies. But as like $100 million summer blockbuster that you're banking on to make bank, this might be one of the weirdest, would you say?
Right now that I'm thinking, it is weird, but I still don't think it's that weird for me. It's just a good movie. Like it's not safe. That's what I like about it. It's just like, we're going to go for it.
Yeah, no, you're right. It's beautiful. I just love they switch faces. It makes me so happy. And then they call it Face Off. Oh, it makes me so happy.
Good actors too. Like you said, if you put in chump actor, like not that Arnold but if you had cast some other whatever, like just like goon style muscle boys, like it would have been like,
or too cute. It would have
Van
been
Damme or Tom Cruise. Imagine that, Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt.
It'd be too cute. Like this one worked out well. This one was just about 92%, man. Big 7 point something on IMDb. Blockbuster hit. People love it. Well, this was fun, man. So I'd love to have you. What movie do you want to do next, man? I'd love to have you back. What are we going to talk about next? Do I need to give you some time to think about?
Yeah, I like to be more like, because I don't, when we, even this idea was all spontaneous.
Yeah.
It came out of nowhere. So
Yeah, let's let it
there's
be
a lot of movies I can
spontaneous.
think of, but let's just keep in touch and we'll come up with another movie because I like watching movies too. There's probably so many movies in my mind that I can be like, damn, I love that movie. And I do love the movies. So let's just let it simmer
Sounds good. All right, so
and
we'll
we'll
let it
find
simmer.
and we will come back because it was fun and I'm happy to do this with you and reconnect on a beautiful movie ground.
That's right. All right, this is awesome, man.
Movie ground.
So for me, Mark Hoffmeyer, and for Matteo, the Cruncher Giannani, this is Movies, Films, and Flicks. We'll see you next week.
So that was the episode on Face Off. I hope you enjoyed it. If you want to know my thoughts, I enjoy Face Off quite a bit. I'm surprised that they didn't talk more about the boat chase at the end, which is kind of like the fire truck chase in Con Air. I always forget it's there until it happens. I said it before, I think I rank it third in my Con Air The Rock Face Off rankings. Still a really fun film. I just prefer the other two. And I was not able to rewatch it before the show came out, so I didn't do a full Ponds in the Air analysis. I know just there is that one point when John Travolta as Nick Cage leaps out of the prison. I think he's a con in the air at that point, so let's say there's at least one. Anyway, you can find more of Mark's podcasting over at Movies, Films, and Flicks. You can find me and Mark both over at Deep Blue Sea, the podcast. And you can find me over on the Lambcast hosting movie trivia once a month on Lampardy. And my personal site is lifeversusfilm.com. Next week will be a regular Con Air chapter. So come back next week or the bunny gets it.
Sigh.
Anara.